Okay, so this is session number 2. We're going to be talking today about vision, mission, why we do these things, just some of the background and history of our firm. And so welcome, guys. Super excited to have you here today. So my first question is, how many of you guys had a chance to watch some of the history, some of the background of how this all came about? Did everybody get a chance to do that?
Yeah.
So yeah, I just wanted to go around the horn, just see if you guys had comments, thoughts, questions, things that I can answer about that.
I just like that you said that you kind of went through a downfall and said that you found God and that it's helped you kind of figure out your life a little bit and figure
Yeah.
out your values a little more. And
Yeah.
yeah, I thought that was good.
Yeah, good. So yeah, you just, I went through a lot of growing pains of learning how not to do things and hopefully how to do them the right way now. And so sometimes some of us are smarter than others, and it takes us a couple of more blunderings on the head to figure out this isn't the right direction to go. And so that was definitely part of my journey for sure. What else? Any other comments, questions?
Yeah, just similar to what Zach just said. I liked in the video or how you talked about, um, I feel like we learn a lot from our successes, but I feel like, we learn maybe even more from when we get things wrong and are able to do things over and start over. So I like how you basically said you're able to take the things that you learned and that were good and apply them to the stuff that you're doing now. I thought that was awesome.
Yeah, it is. It's true. Like when you fail, when you fall over yourself, you run into these opportunities to go, okay, gosh, time for reflection, time to step back and really ask the question, what happened? How did I get here? What is it that I need to do differently going forward? And that's actually how people end up having success, right? It's not that everything came about really well for them or that they just had a smooth path, but that they were able to learn and grow and get better and make those changes to hopefully optimize and get to where they need to go. And that was certainly been mine and will continue to as we all have these different experiences to some degree or another. And so we have to be willing to step back, take a breather, ask ourselves the question, what just happened? So that begs the question of like, most people won't really stop, slow down, and reflect, right? Why do you think that is? Why won't people do that?
I think typically it's because like people are so worried on the end goal, and don't realize like the steps they need to take to get there, that when they kind of have like a little bit of a tumble, they just feel like, all right, like don't worry about that. Just keep trying to like do what I'm doing to get to the end of the kind of like the light at the end of the tunnel, without realizing that if you don't go back and look at those steps that got you there, you're never actually gonna get to the end.
Yeah. Yeah. So just being able to step back and they want to just keep going and not have to to take a look at what happened.
Some people are scared to fail more than actually learning from it.
Yeah. Yeah. Like they're terrified, understandably so, right? Like they're terrified. Oh my gosh, I'm going to fail. Like there's just no way I even want to do that. That's just, scary to think that I tried and I didn't do it. And so, maybe you were trained that way and it was like, that was bad. You shouldn't fail. But yeah, there's a lot of fear in that, right? Which is good. What else? What are the reasons why people don't do that? What do you think?
I was gonna say, I think, and it's kind of similar to what Theo said, is I think maybe that might be like a bigger issue that they don't want to face. I think they just kind of go past it. And most times, there's something else that they need to address, maybe with them or with what they're doing that they just probably just don't want to face, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, because there's just a sense, I think, in all of us at some point in life where we think that it's okay or safe to just hang out in denial, right? There's something that might be a pink elephant in the middle of the room, and we're like, okay, I know it's there. I call it the beach ball syndrome, right? Where you just sort of like you have a beach ball underneath the water, but you know it's there, but you might try to just pretend it's not, right? But you can feel the pressure And when you let go, that thing pops out of the water, right? So there's just something inside of us that, attempts to deny reality, but ultimately, eventually that'll come to the surface, right? I have a couple of friends that have been alcoholics, right? And I always ask them the question, I said, when you were in that state, even though you said you weren't an alcoholic, did you actually know you were? And the answer is always yes. I knew it. I just didn't want to actually admit it. Even though when I spoke out of my mouth, right, that I'm not an alcoholic, they knew in their soul that something was wrong, something was amiss, right? So there's just something inside of us. And there's also this thing, I think, too, that we sort of look at regret as a negative thing, right? When actually, if you think about it, regret can be your best friend, right? If you all of a sudden say, I regretted what happened, but now I get to go back and like walk through the journey of what that happened and how I got to that place and use that as the catalyst to move to the next step where you need to go. So just, I think it's important for us all to just stop, slow down, pull back, and reflect on things that happened. Plus, if you guys think about it, we live in a pretty busy type of world where you never could shut off your brain ever. Do you know that? There was a book that I read called Entertaining Ourselves to Death. Okay. And what it did is it walked through the whole history of how the communication started, where people had the SOS and then ultimately they had the phone. And what they found through the studies was that way back in the days, they used to actually go to like a debate between Abraham Lincoln, and for hours they would sit there, right, mesmerized, walking through this, and they'd go back to the village and process it for like days. What happened? How did you come to this conclusion? And as time went on, they just sort of went to this hyper acceleration where it was just like in 5 seconds you can come to a conclusion on something, and as opposed to thinking through it, right? And so now it's just like everything is hyperdrive, and you got 2 seconds of attention span, and then you just have to move on to the next or else you're done. And so it's really important to just in your own lives to stop, slow down, reflect, so that you can really grow and go to the next level of where you need to go in life. So any other comments before we move on to that, or thoughts before we move on?
I mean, probably one thing that I would say that I kind of liked about your story was your persistence. So like you went through the hard time with your business partner, and then the Great Recession happened. And obviously that's a really tough thing, but you kept reaching out. You said you reached out to like 30 companies, about 15 responded. And this kind of gave you the foundation of moving forward at the end of the day. So just staying true and being persistent.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, it's definitely one of the things in this world, you have to kind of have some grit, right? So it's just like you got to keep going and try, and good things happen. So sometimes.
You started out of your garage, right?
I did. Yep. We just started out of our garage, and went to my friend's house, started working out of there, and then eventually we ended up buying an office building, kind of moving into there. So it was definitely a migration, and it was fun and scary all at the same time. So it's lots of lessons to be learned. That's pretty much everything that we do, as you're going to be learning now, is a byproduct of all of the failures that I've had. So it's really, you kind of, how did you come to these things or these values or these convictions? And as the team will kind of attest, it's all out of the things that I didn't want to experience again, for the most part. So it's interesting how those things can be really impactful and formative. Well, good. Well, the other thing too, I asked you guys to share your story with me too. Thank you for those that felt comfortable to do that. I always enjoy just hearing your own story and your own journey and the things that you've gone through yourself that kind of make you who you are. That's one of the fun things I get to see is your stories. We won't go through those here, but I want to encourage you guys to continue to be authentic and share what's going on in your life, because that's part of the story. In fact, when you get into a work environment, it's super important that if you're in a healthy work environment, that you can start to share authentically about the things you do well and the things you don't. We do that a lot here. Michelle will attest to it, but we share what we think we're doing well at, what we're not. And so my question is, why, how do you think that builds trust when you are in a place where you can do that in a safe space? What do you think?
People don't want to talk about their weaknesses. People most times don't want to hear about their weaknesses.
No.
So if you get to a space where you're able to comfortably, share those things and get, constructive feedback, I think it's great.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. Nobody wants to kind of look weak or like they don't have it together or that, that everything isn't quite there. But it is the way that you build trust with people. Okay. Because what happens is you start to kind of like, go, okay, this person's human. They're sharing not only what they're good at, but also the things where they struggle. And then you start to relate with people in that. And then all of a sudden connection and trust starts to become, because when people deny things or won't embrace it, or they hide and blame, then you can't build a healthy culture. You build a toxic one, right? Where people are blaming and hiding and pretending that, everything's fine when it's not. That's called politicking. And so it's really important for you guys. So what else? Any other thoughts about why we do these things, why you should share in the right environment? Good point, Shielma. It's got to be the right environment. Otherwise you might get sandblasted.
Kind of like what Shioma said, I feel like when other people are aware of the things that we're going through, they'll be able to, help us along the way. I feel like when we're humble enough to, talk about the things that we struggle with, and other people are able to be like, oh, well, that's one thing I'm actually pretty good at, so I can help you in that area. I feel like that's a really good way to learn and grow. So.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's just an area of saying, hey, look, I'm struggling here. This is an area that I'm definitely not strong in. And maybe it's an area you're strong in. And then all of a sudden you're humble enough to pull somebody in and allow them to help you grow, which gives them the opportunity for them to grow, right? So it's a little bit counterintuitive. So that's really good. Have you guys experienced that before in a culture where you've been able to do that? Yeah, no. Okay. Good. Well, so let's talk about vision for a minute. Okay. What did you learn when you watched the video on vision? What types of things did you learn, whether that was just about the concept of vision or physically what you heard about ours? I'd love to hear from some of you guys on just vision.
I don't think I've ever actually looked at a company's vision and mission statements before. But doing the research, it started to make sense why that is very important, just like to tell the company where it's going, and as a reminder why it's operating the way it does. But I've definitely not paid attention to that. When I was doing research, it did start to kind of connect. And I had some aha moments like, oh, that makes sense. Okay, I see why they do this. I see why they, treat their customers this way. So I did get to see, I guess, why the vision of an organization is very important, actually, just in the growth generally.
Yeah, that's good. So let me ask you guys a question. What is vision? I mean, I think that's really important, that you're like, what do we mean when we say we're setting vision? What the heck does that even mean?
So I would say that it's kind of what you said in the video, like you're painting a picture of what it is in the future. You use your mission to kind of strategize your goals to see where your endpoint is, but your vision is where you want to be, like what your ideal future is.
Yeah.
And like just comparing that to like the big companies and going through the vision statements, like it's actually super crazy how those vision statements completely came to life for those companies.
Yeah.
I was looking at like P&G and like Walmart, and like it's literally uncanny how.
Yeah. Pretty interesting, isn't it? So when you think about vision, it's this whole notion of what are we doing? right? What is that final destination that we're going to? What is this picture? So it's not a goal, although there is some elements of a goal, meaning you're going to a particular place, but you're painting a picture of what it is at the end. Okay. And why do you think that's even important when you're dealing with vision? Like, why, who cares? Like, why does somebody go through that exercise?
I think it's important to like have like an end goal in mind. Because if you're kind of like aimlessly going about business without really any purpose, the quality of business will go down, like internally, kind of employee like satisfaction within the company will decline. So it's important to have that purpose to kind of drive all the elements of the business.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you just walk around aimlessly. You're just sort of like what I did for a lot of my beginning journey. It was just kind of like, well, I just want to make money and have as much success. But I didn't even know if I could define it for you. I just knew that all it was making dough, right? And the end result of that was disastrous because it was completely founded on fallaciousness, right? So just having a focus, having an aim, having a destination really is quite helpful. What else? Like why is, so when you think about vision, what do you think is underneath that? Like, how does somebody get to a place where they're developing vision? How do you get there? It seems kind of murky.
I would say you set goals for certain time periods and then you plan your way to achieve those goals. And the more goals that you complete is what leads you to getting to that vision and having people look at your company in that certain way.
Yeah, so part of it is like you've gone through and done some exercises of having goals and trying to get to an end result of figuring out how to, what is it that we're doing? What else? Like what other things do you think have to go into actually making something that physically is a vision for the whole company? I mean, think about Walmart for a minute, right? Do you guys remember what Walmart's was?
Yeah.
Create a place where people can what? Just get anything for as low cost as possible, right? At any time, right? So that's really interesting. It's pretty simple, but if you think about Walmart, like that's pretty much what drives is the thing. Like it's cost, right? We're trying to just drive that cost down as much as possible. So what does that do? Because this is really important, and I'll tell you why. Vision is probably one of the most important things that I will do as a business owner. Period. Okay, I'm going to say that again. Vision is probably one of the most important things I will do as a business owner. Okay, because if I don't really get that right, the rest of the stuff just sort of drifts off into the abyss of the sea. So what is it that we're really trying to get to when you're getting into the vision? You're trying to solve something. Okay. Think about it for a minute. What did Walmart just do? They're trying to solve what? Making you think here.
I'm trying to solve like the one stop, just like shopping kind of problem that used to be a thing.
Right. You're trying to solve for a problem, and that problem for them is the fact that they want to lower the barrier of entry for people so that they can get access to things based upon the lower cost, right? For the masses. Does that make sense? So they're driving down this thing, trying to solve so that everybody has the opportunity to get access to things, right? So there's something underneath a vision that is solving a problem for people. Does that make sense? So you have to really go ahead.
Sorry. Would you say that like separating yourself from other similar companies is also like a vision?
100%.
We were talking about that in my class I just had. We were talking about how Kroger and Trader Joe's and like Costco all have like kind of different ways in how they separate themselves from each other.
Mhm.
Well, we were saying that Kroger doesn't really have that extra piece, but Costco's known for bulk. Trader Joe's is like healthier and good deals, but there's no difference really with Kroger, and that's why they have issues.
Yes. Yeah. So identifying who do you want to become at the end of the day, you've got to have a clear vision of saying what is our identity? Do you want to be the lowest cost? Do you want to be the quickest? Do you want to have the highest quality of things? But what you're ultimately trying to drive for is, what am I solving for at the end of the day? What problem am I solving for? So for us, we're really trying to solve for the fact that in our industry, there's so much frustration around this idea of trying to get a commercial loan when it comes to paperwork and the amount of time it takes, and the fact that you could get declined, so there's not confidence of execution. There's all these frustrations that happens through there. That what happens, people lose their confidence. Therefore, they lose peace of mind. Therefore, they don't feel like they really are going to achieve what they need to do. So a vision should encompass solving a problem. That problem has to be somewhat personalized. Does that make sense? So you've had to have an experience in there to say, this is never going to happen again. I'm tired of this. I'm at the end of the rope on this. How do we solve this problem so that we don't have it happen anymore? Think about people that lost spouses to cancer, right? And they are just bent on trying to say, how do we eradicate this thing? And it can become a vision that drives them. That not only is solving a problem, but it's also for the benefit of who? Themselves or who?
Others.
Others, right? So it's other-centered, okay? If you want to have the right vision, it's other-centered, and it's solving a problem at the end of the day, okay? So vision just takes a lot of thought, and you have to go through an experience to be able to know, okay, this is the way we want to go, okay? So do you guys remember some of the elements of our vision? There's a couple of different elements.
Your team.
Yeah, the team. We had a vision of the kind of team that we wanted to have in the future, and I called it our superstar team, right? People that were engaged in the culture, they loved where we're going, and they were humble. They wanted to be a part of what was going on, right? So there was a superstar team element of this that had a lot of clarity around it. What were the other elements? Do you remember?
I had down the vision of growth and fantastic prospecting were two of the things you mentioned.
Yeah, 100%. So products and services. What were the products and services we're going to focus on? Was not only dealing with what we're doing now, but also direct lending products that we were going to design and build and facilitate for these particular clients to solve that problem of the frustration that clients are dealing with, to close things in less than 20 days. Okay, so that people don't have to deal with the paperwork or the headache and the time anymore. Okay, and then what was the other thing? So there was 4 elements, right? And then, so there was products and services. There was the superstar team. What was the other one?
Marketing.
Marketing. That's right. Yeah, it was the how we sell. How are we going to go to the market with it? What is that going to look like? How are we going to distribute things into the marketplace? Okay. And what is that going to look like for us to have strategic positioning in the way that we're going to deliver it? That, again, to your point, as you said earlier, Zach, is different or distinct from other people. We're not going to do it the same way because we don't want to be the competition. We want to be different. Okay. We have a different way that we position ourselves. And then the final element was what? Do you remember? I love making it uncomfortable. Impact, right? What was the impact we wanted to have at the end of this vision? Okay. So again, purpose, meaning, significance, something driving us so that there's way more than just me making a bunch of money or a bunch of other people making a bunch of money, right? It's much deeper, much broader. And so there's impact, right? You remember what we were focused on? The poor and the disenfranchised, right? That we wanted to give away $1 million, hopefully even more, right, to the initiative of really helping the homeless. Okay. So that's the driving force for us to really say, this is where we want to go. Okay. So that vision, again, is we're trying to make it compelling, clear, concise enough, right? But that's something we can work off of when we're trying to get to the next step. So we just got back, Michelle, maybe you can chime in. We just got back from doing a big retreat up in Flagstaff with our whole team. And I unpacked our vision even more so. But, maybe Michelle, if you have any thoughts on what that experience was like for you.
Yeah, it was incredible. It's really interesting to see like how big a vision can be, like as you start to unpack it, it's just, there's so much to it. There's so much nuance to it. And there's so much passion behind it too. So I think like us just discovering what Dave's vision is and how it's unfolded over the years and how he's, kind of morphed it into what it is today, has been super inspiring, and also makes you want to jump on the boat with him. Like I want to go where he's going, because where he's leading us is something I believe in. Like I believe in pouring out to the poor and disenfranchised. I believe in, having a team that has peace of mind at the end of the day, that we all have each other's back and we have a really healthy culture that we're building here. So those are just two things, but honestly, like there's so many things about the vision that I'm like, yes, this is incredible. This is how I want to build my life, and so yeah, it's just been really inspiring to see the vision and to also be a part of that. Like Dave's super open, on the retreat. We all got to come together as a team and kind of like build our own little niches into that vision as well. So I think it's just really fun to see how everybody can kind of plug their strengths in to that machine that we call the vision, and we get to kind of just run with it and build it together as a team. So it's been super fun, a great journey.
It's awesome. Thanks, Michelle, for sharing that.
I have a question.
Yeah.
How often do you update your vision, or when would you know that your vision needs updating?
That's a great question. So a vision is, it's ongoing, I guess is what I'll say. It doesn't just sort of stagnate, or you don't just, it's living and breathing, meaning that, you start kind of here with some fuzziness. Whenever you're doing vision, it took me a while to get to clarity. So it starts off fuzzy, like you're kind of like, okay, I think I have a general idea. And then what happens is you walk through more experiences, and then you go like this, okay, wait a minute. That adds that additional piece. Then you go by even a year more and you go, okay, wait a minute, that's even more narrow. So it starts off very fuzzy and kind of here. Like, you guys are probably have a general idea, but it's like here. I know I kind of like this, but then it's going to go here, and then here, and then here, and then here. That's how vision works. It's not something that you go in a weekend and figure out. It's something that's sort of gentrifying over time. That's why it's really important for you to stay in front of it intentionally, so you have time to reflect and say, okay, wait a minute, is that really where we want to go? And if it's not compelling, and it's not like, it doesn't make your, it's like the hair on the back of your neck sort of pop up, and you're just like not jazzed up about it, then it's definitely wrong for sure. Because it's got to be something that makes you go, oh my gosh, if I got there, like that would just absolutely blow my mind. And it's got to scare you a little bit. You got to gulp a little bit and go, that's a little scary. And so, yes, it's not something that happens overnight, but it's something you need to at least start to journey, which is why I had you guys do that. So you could kind of figure out, okay, what is my vision? Because when I do vision, Michelle said this really important. It's not just my vision, it's theirs too. They're getting pulled into that to say, okay, I see myself in this capacity. Okay. Mm-hmm. So it's very personalized. It's not just, hey, this is where we're going, everybody jump on board. Everybody's sort of participating in this whole thing. They were very much doing most of the work up at the retreat. Mm-hmm. I presented a vision, but ultimately they were doing a lot of the work about how this all kind of pulled them into it, which is super important, right? So it's a really good question, but it is ongoing for sure. So you guys did an assignment, a vision assignment. What was that like for you guys? Was that the first time you've ever done anything like that? Was it interesting for you to go through that? Was it frustrating? I want to hear from you guys.
I would say both. It was a really good experience where I haven't done it in a long time. I know that I've sat down and maybe thought about things kind of like that for my own personal vision. But I also saw that fuzziness that you're talking about, where I'm like, wait a second, like, what do I actually want? You know, and I feel like that only comes when you sit down and you literally just like focus on the things that make you happy. I really like that question. And so yeah, I felt that element of like fuzziness a little bit too, which was interesting.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, I've been there. I do want to encourage you guys. The reason why I said that fuzziness is because sometimes we get frustrated with ourselves because we're like, man, how come I'm not clear? Like, but I think that that's just normal, and I think that that's part of it. Is it needs to be fuzzy at the beginning. So don't be frustrated about fuzziness. Just recognize that that is actually part of the journey. Is you're going to be fuzzy for a while, but that will launch you if you hang on to the frustration of that to keep going towards it to get more clarity. Because it definitely is not a sprint, but it is a marathon for sure.
I kind of wish you said this like last session, because I definitely got frustrated. I was like, what the? I was like, why am I doing this? I was so upset. I didn't know what to write. But then I did learn a few things about myself, because I hadn't, sat down to do this in a long time. So I definitely got frustrated, and I was like, maybe I should just leave. And I was like, we have a meeting today. So yeah, no, it was fun. It was fun to think about. It was.
I love that. Yeah, I love that. Thanks for being honest about that, because it's real. Like, honestly, there's been days where I've been in my office just like totally clueless about like, what am I doing? Where are we going? I have no idea. And there's been many nights where I've wondered if this is even worth it. So that is completely normal to just go through the frustration. So I think frustration really is a gift to you if you use it the right way. And so just, we always say innovation comes out of frustration. And so just embrace frustration as a gift that was put to you to drive you into a place to say, how do I move to where I need to go out of that frustration? As opposed to what we always see as frustration is negative. Well, that's bad. I feel frustrated. And my response is, no, that actually is a gift. So that frustration was given to you. Now you could camp in it and not go anywhere, but remember, that's a gift that's going, okay, something's got to change and move you to a new location. So just embrace frustration as a gift to launch you somewhere. So that's awesome. I love that, Chioma. What else? What other experiences did we have on vision? Because probably some of you guys, if I'm honest, if I'm in your shoes, I'd say, this is the dumbest thing that I've ever done. Like, why would this guy, I just signed up for an internship and he's having me go through vision. I did this for commercial real estate lending, for crying out loud. Like, you're an idiot. That's probably what I would think in my own mind, if I'm being honest. And, and so if I was the 20 some odd year old in your shoes, that's exactly what I would think. This is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. It seems cheesy. So did anybody else have that thought? Come on. Yes, thank you. That's good. That's honest. I like that. Right? Because here's the thing. What you don't understand is what I didn't understand when I was your age too, is that is probably one of the most important things you'll do. And I mean, I know that seems silly. It's like, no, getting my degree is, and doing this is, and doing that. I'm telling you right now, this is probably one of the most important things you do, is getting really clear about vision. And it doesn't happen overnight, but if you make that part of your exercise of life, you're going to really see some things happen that will change your life. I wish I would have learned this a lot earlier in life, that someone pushed me to really think about vision. Okay. So just hang on to that little word of wisdom from a guy that's got way more gray hair than you do. Okay. What else? What about you guys who've been silent over here? Thoughts on your vision assignment?
I thought it was a nice, like, oh, sorry, go ahead.
You go, you're good.
I thought it was a nice break from like the kind of like fast-paced world we live in, where we're kind of so set on like getting done whatever task or something we have to do for school or for like home. Like, I feel like we're so like kind of like task oriented as a society. It was nice to step back and think about that vision. And like I personally thought I was like, I'm just graduating college soon. Like I'm not really sure I even should be thinking about this, but after like going through the assignment and like kind of putting together like kind of what I think my vision would be, I feel like it's going to be helpful to have those kind of thoughts in the back of my head for when I get bogged down doing a task that is difficult or I go through a rough patch, just kind of think back to that as motivation.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, to just step back and go, okay, wait a minute. This probably is one of the most important things because it's going to start to drive me in the direction of the things that I want to do. But more importantly, and this is why I'd ask, who do I want to become? You know, not do I want to do or what do I want to accomplish, but who do I want to become at the end of the day? Okay, because that's super important. Okay, because how many people made a lot of money, got to the top, had all this stuff, but they're like, man, I hate who I've become. Okay, so the question really is, who do I want to become at the end of the day? And then that will drive your decisions about who you're going to work for, what friends you're going to develop, what areas you're going to spend most of your time, you know, what school am I going to go to and why, and what am I going to do, right? That will drive your decisions of who do I want to become, will drive what do I need to do to get there in order to be that kind of person that I want to be. Not just do I want to accomplish, who do I want to become? Okay, super important. What else, Ben?
Yeah, I'd probably say it was a pretty eye-opening thing. I don't know, like I probably haven't done something like that since high school. And like it kind of gives you that mental reset. And like when you actually jot it down in words, like you really think about it. Like you can be like right now, like, oh, I'm about to graduate college. Like I want to do this, this, and this. But when you actually like jot it down, like for me, it was more of who I want to become, not necessarily what I want to do.
Yeah.
And kind of what you were saying, like you're going to work for people because of who you become. You're going to do things because of that vision of what you see yourself as. I thought it was super cool to kind of get it from that angle.
Yeah, good. Yeah, super important. What about you, Zach? That's awesome.
I was gonna say that when doing the assignment, just because the first question, it took me so long to even just start it because I tried to really think it through.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably why you put that as number one.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, it just took me really a long time to think, who do I actually want to become? And so I wanted to make sure that I actually had the right vision. And yeah, I thought it was a good assignment.
Yeah, good. I'm glad. Well, I'm glad. And I know it's frustrating. I know it seems kind of silly, but it's not. And it will, if you do that, and even if you did it every quarter, just to go back and keep doing that, if you did that and nothing else in life, watch out world, right? Because you're going to have some serious impact because you took the time to reflect and think, okay, and have impact at the end of the day. And it's other centered and it solves a big problem that's close to your heart that you've experienced, maybe your own frustration, that will drive you to have some serious impact and become the kind of person that you want to become. Okay. So just hang on to that. So it'll be really important. It is for us. We talk about it a bunch around here. I know my employees probably want to punch me sometimes and go, just stop talking about this vision. Kidding. Good. So then we talked about mission. Okay. So remember, vision's got to come first, right? Because we got to know, where are we going? What is the final destination? Who do we want to become, right? All those sort of pictures that we want to be emotional, we want to be exciting, enticing, pull people in, right? And drive them to this place that we're going to go. But ultimately, then the question is, we don't want this just to be a dream. We don't want people just to kind of go, well, that's cool. Let's go hang out, right? What do we have to do to move it from just a dream to something that can become a reality, right? What did we call that? Mission, right? So for me and for us, mission is not that sort of picture, but it is the tactical, strategic things that we're going to do in order for us to get to that destination, okay? And so what were some of those things for those of you that had gone through it? What were some of the things, maybe one or two, of a mission, right? So when we talk about a mission, we need to have some sort of strategic things that will drive us to get to those types of things. So do you remember what one or two of those things were?
Remember, one was to pick, the right people to do business with and to work with. The
Yeah.
team that you're with will help you get through a lot of stuff.
Yeah, so we called that our proactive partners, right? We wanted to have partners that we sidled up with that could help launch us into that, because if we picked the wrong partners, either internally here or externally that we're going to go with, we're not going to be able to get there to that ultimate destination. That's just was a big one for us, is we've got to have the right strategic partners in order for us to launch there. So that was sort of a strategic thing that was necessary. What else?
Leverage technology and foster innovation.
Yeah, leveraging technology and fostering innovation, right? So in order for us to get there, to be this kind of company and to be proactive, we have to leverage technology and innovation in order for us to do those things. We've got to spend a lot of time, resources, and money pressing into those things if we're going to get this kind of vision that we want to come. We have to be innovative. We have to think through things. We have to break out of the mold. We have to set up an environment that fosters that innovation. Otherwise, we're just never going to get there at the end of the day. So that was a tactical thing for us to be able to get there. What else? What was maybe one more?
Deepening your relationship with clients by truly knowing them.
Yeah. So look, at the end of the day, if we're not really focused in on the client and we're not understanding who they are and we're not really extracting from them and learning about them and spending time understanding their own frustrations and what their needs are, we're never going to get there, because we're totally missing the point. You look at Blockbuster. I talked about this at the retreat, right? They were a bustling, huge company, thriving. And what they did is they totally missed opportunities. They completely missed the client. They kept charging fees upon fees upon fees. And eventually they went bankrupt, right? Because they just wouldn't capitalize on the opportunities that were around them. But they just missed these moments that they could have just really deepened the relationship with the client. But they just started using the client to pad the wallet, as opposed to saying, how do we really help them? And eventually it came back to bite him in the butt, because they wouldn't listen to the client at the end of the day. So you have to have a mission to really start to set these tactical things you're going to do in order to move closer to those things. Okay. And that is the distinction between vision, right, and mission. What versus how. So just think about that. What is it? And then how do I get there at the end of the day, right? So vision is really that destination we all want to go to, Hawaii. And then mission is the map. How are we going to get there at the end of the day? Okay. So just think about those two things in order for us to be successful. Okay. So mission's important. It's critical. And it is also different, by the way, than just goals. So what do you guys think is the difference between strategy and then physically setting goals? Any ideas?
So your goals would technically be your endpoint, what you're trying to accomplish. And then your mission is how you're going to get there. Like, what strategic moves are you going to make to accomplish that?
Yeah. So think about like strategy is kind of like, this is sort of the overarching thematic thing that we're going to have to focus in on in order to get to that larger picture there. The goal is the physical thing that you're going to be doing on a very tactical level in order to get to that strategy, right? So I might say, hey, we need to sidle up with people that are proactive partners. That's kind of a, strategy that we need to do. And then you say, well, what's a goal? Well, in Q1, we're going to need to foster 10 relationships with financial institutions within the Western United States, in order for us to develop these relationships, right? So something like that, we're getting really granular about those specific steps that we need to do now in order to get to that destination, right? So those are the types of distinctions you need to know in order to keep driving to that end game where you're trying to go. Okay. So again, vision, mission, more strategy, and then goals are really driving the daily things you're going to do every day to keep kind of moving, right? We came off the hill with 4 very clear goals that we were going to focus on in the Q1 of the next year that we're going to be working on. Okay. Ford is our main man over there. Okay. So tell me this, what did you guys learn about interviewing the business person for those of you who had a chance to do that?
The days, I think, well, the person I interviewed, she hadn't gotten to the place where she wanted to go yet. But when I asked her what she had accomplished that she was most proud of, she said it was watching the people that she had groomed kind of become more, or move on to greater things. And I thought that was just so selfless. That was awesome. Yeah.
It's pretty awesome. Yeah. So just learning about the fact that it was more important for them to see how others thrived. Yeah, it's good. I like that.
One thing that stuck out to me, that the guy that I interviewed talked about is he said that one of the things that has been, the most helpful for him is showing up and doing his job. And he said that in 30 years of working, he only took 3 sick days. And he told himself, he's like, look, if I can get out of bed, I can work. If I can get out of bed, I can do it. And so it was one of the craziest things I've ever heard. Because like, if I stub my toe, I'm like, crap, I can't go to work today. I can't go to school online. It was just, it was really interesting. And that's how you build relationships with, employers and people that you're working with, if they know that you're going to be there no matter what, and be there to help them. So
yeah, Cal Ripken Jr., right? Like just show up day in, day out, stay consistent, not even if you got a bad day, you just show up, right? It's super important. Yeah, it's good. Anybody else have a chance to yet? If not, it's okay.
The advice I got, kind of stuck out to me, just because they said, don't procrastinate the things you don't enjoy, get them done, but appreciate the things you do enjoy. Because like every day in work, even if you have your dream job, there's going to be ups and downs. So really appreciate the tasks or whatever you're doing. If you enjoy it, make sure to kind of appreciate that.
That's good. Yeah. Just an attitude of gratitude of like, hey, I focus on the things you can appreciate and try to do those things as much as you can. And to have a grateful attitude, right? That's a really important attribute, for sure. Why do you guys think I had to even go through this exercise? Like, what do you think the point was?
I mean, we kind of, we are just starting our young professional careers, and we don't really have a lot of experiences on our plate, and kind of learning up from our higher ups who've been there and done that kind of gives us a vision that we would have normally not seen.
Yeah. One of my favorite things to do, I'm a wisdom seeker. I'm always literally just, if somebody's 10, 15, 20 years older than me, I'm on a hunt, and I'm not just going to have a casual conversation with you. I'm asking you questions. I'm like, what are the top 2 things I need to know about life, right? What did you learn? What should I not do? What did you do wrong? What did you do right? Right? I want to learn from them, and I want to learn wisdom, right? Why? So that I can go further, faster, and I don't have to go to jail, so to speak, right? In Monopoly, you can bypass go and just get to where you need to go by soaking in wisdom, soaking in information so that you can learn faster, right? And just learn from people's successes and learn from their mistakes. And so one of the things I would encourage you guys, if you got nothing else out of this, is that became a habit for you. It's like, hey, I just want to, if I have someone that I know, I'm going to sit down with them for lunch and ask them a question. Okay. Or take them to lunch and soak in everything I can out of it. And that would be a great exercise for you to learn the things that you need to know, since you don't have that experience yet. And so you can leverage other people's experience to go, that actually resonates with me. And I think I can do that. So I'm a wisdom hunter. I'm always looking for it everywhere I go. Okay. Learn from you guys too. So it's fun to hear your stories. Okay. So here's the thing. For next time we meet, I'd like you guys to go through core convictions. There's a little interview with some friends, why assignments, the DNA of Integrity Capital, and who thrives at Integrity Capital. Okay. And remember, the reason why we're doing this, obviously all this stuff will benefit you, even though you might not know it now, whether you're with us here in the future or not. But if you just implemented this, it would be extremely valuable. But it's helping you understand our specific culture, why we do what we do, right? It'll either excite you or not. And then also we're going to teach you about the industry, right? After this, we'll do the same thing. It'll either make you go, that's incredible, or it'll make you go, that is atrocious. I don't want to have anything to do with that. And by the way, both are wonderful because you definitely want to get to the place where you want to go that excites you and makes you go, yes, I want to be a part of that culture. Okay, really important. I'm going to tell you guys this right now and listen up. When you're interviewing a company, wherever it is, ask about the culture. Are they specific? Is it clear? Are they intentional? Because that tells you about the leader. Or is it vague? I always say vague is like the plague, right? Specific is terrific. So, and then also that specific thing that you're doing, the competency, is that something that excites you to physically do every day? But you got to have both, okay? If you want to have a thriving career. Otherwise, you'll work somewhere and you'll hate the culture and you'll go, yeah, I love what I do, but I can't stand the culture, okay? Or you love the culture and you can't stand what you do. So that's the plan, my friends. Any other questions for me or comments or anything you want to yell at me before we wrap up? No?
Actually, I have one. So for just when we're going through the whole lesson one, I didn't really know exactly where we were supposed to stop at. So I kind of just kept on going and going. And I think I just got past core convictions.
Okay.
Is that like past where we're supposed to be?
Yeah,
Or
because you'll do core convictions. You'll obviously do an interview, sharing some of your convictions with other people, right? Interview two friends. Do the why incitement, right? Our why, and the Simon Sinek why, and then the DNA and who thrives. You'll go up to who thrives ultimately.
okay.
Between now and then, you want to go up to who thrives.
Yeah.
And my final statement to you is, again, if you are struggling with the content, meaning getting through it because you're overwhelmed at school, just communicate with us, okay? This is what I asked you guys up front. Just use your communication skills, reach out, say, hey, this is a crazy week. I've got finals. This is going on. We totally understand. So we just want you to communicate with us and let us know. Just because, again, we've got a pace we're trying to hit, and we want you guys to get value out of this, but we also don't want to crush you. Does that make sense? Okay, because we know you guys have a busy workload and a lot going on. So just keep us posted so we can be helpful to you. Michelle even said she'd come take some of your tests at school. So